And then you can just take it away, Cheyenne.
Beautiful. Okay, here I'm going to spotlight myself. There we go. I have slides, so make myself big. I will do a little introduction to myself in a little bit. It's not my favorite part, but it's important to know where I'm coming from. What I want to start with is I know we're going into 2026, and I know a lot of us, if we're handling marketing for small businesses, micro businesses, it can be something we kind of treat as throwing spaghetti on the wall. And that's very natural when you're managing so many different pieces of growing a business or being in a business. But I want us to really understand small businesses with a documented marketing plan are 4 times more likely to succeed than those without one. It does not have to be a perfect plan. It just has to be something that we have sat with enough to really get clear on our direction and our intentions for the year. It's extremely powerful. I have been working with businesses where I do their marketing for over 8 years. I have very long-term clients. I've also been consulting businesses for 3 or 4 years. And some of them have been in business 20 years and they hadn't really gotten serious about their marketing until now. And the difference they see with just setting that annual plan and knowing what they're doing every quarter, completely different relationship with their revenue and with their growth than if they're just leaving it up to ad hoc approaches. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to build a plan based on really good goals because a good marketing plan starts with the right marketing goals. This is another process where setting the right goal is a skill set. It's not something you stumble into. It's something you really have to learn how to do. And that's what I want to teach today so that I can bring you through this process. So, as I was saying, it's going to be a lot of information. I really like to give a lot of clarity and structure. Don't worry too much about recording or writing notes. I'm going to send out the slides. Amy's got them. She'll send those out. I've also created a custom GPT. So what it will do is this process I'm going to describe to you, it will take you through it step by step and help you get to the point where you have those 3 SMART goals. So this is a really great support piece that will bring you through the process I'm going to describe. So just keep your ears and your mind open and really use this to orient yourself and to recognize where you and your business are. You'll start to see little sparks of like, oh, I do have that, and I definitely don't have that piece. And then use the slides or the GPT to really refine those afterwards. Most of us small business owners, we set marketing goals as well as business goals without context, especially marketing. If you do not have a professional marketing background, you probably don't know the big picture of marketing. This is a huge part of my business is I teach and empower business owners how to run as their own CMOs. Doesn't mean you have to do all of the marketing, but you certainly need to understand the big picture of it to get it to work for your business. When we don't have that skill set, what we usually do is we choose tactics instead of directions. And instead of we don't set outcomes, we set intentions. And this looks like saying, hey, one of my goals for this year is I'm going to post on Instagram 3 times a week. That is a super common goal, but that's more tactic and it's more intention. It's not the type of goal we really want to lay as our foundation. We're going to use SMART goals, which I'm a pretty chaotic person by nature, but we're going to get really concrete with this. So your marketing goals work when they match where your business is. In our previous monthly webinar that we did last month, we talked a lot about the business stages of development. I know it, I believe Amy has it up on the recording is available, I believe. And we're going to go through it again here today. So you don't have to have been there at that one. Yeah, thanks, Amy. So if you do want to go back and really understand the stages of business, you can go into that, but I'm going to walk us through it here too. Marketing is an internal operation of our business. So the only reason marketing exists is to push our business goal forward. And our business goals are based on the stage of business development we're at. So our marketing goals always align where your business is. And then we want to look up at the gaps in our marketing that we need to close to create stability. I know consistent cash flow, steady sales, that's a huge piece that we need. And then the next piece we want to look out for goals is what gains we're ready to build next. I'm going to really break this down as I go through. You're going to really understand how marketing is a machine. It's a machine that you're building for your business. One of the places we tend to go astray is that we just build it as little individual components. And even if we get some kind of results, it doesn't give us any lasting asset. So there's no lasting ROI. Marketing, when done professionally, you approach it like you're building a machine in individual components so that it steadily runs and supports your business. Quick introduction to me. My name is Cheyanne. My business is CO Marketing. I am a marketing consultant. I work exclusively with independent businesses. My mom owns a brick and mortar in downtown Trenton. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur, and I really deeply believe in the impact and contribution independents make to our community and our local economies, which is why I have put my marketing expertise into this direction. I'm a really strong believer in just how much we give back, as well as create businesses for our own benefits. I have worked with over 200 businesses at this point. It's probably even higher than that. B2B, B2C, brick and mortar, service based, doesn't matter. I've worked with all of them. The commonality is that they're independent. I work with people most often in Ontario. I have a few international clients now. So that's me. I work one-on-one with smaller businesses to help them build their marketing system. And I work with larger businesses where I come in and do custom consultations and strategies. What we're going to do here today is three basic parts. First, I'm going to talk to you about the marketing machine. I really, really want us to be able to reframe marketing from something that we're just kind of randomly doing and hoping to get sales out of. It is an internal piece of our business that we build component by component. Then I'm going to talk to you about how to identify your 2026 needle movers. And then I'm going to run through an example. I have a really fun made-up brand I use called the Bean There Cafe. Everyone in my community knows it. I use it a lot. It's I have a soft spot in my heart. I even have like a fake Facebook page for this cafe. It's real in my mind at this point. So, building your marketing machine. Your marketing is a machine that we build in pieces. When a big box store or a large organization has marketing, this is how they have approached it. And you can pull this apart into three stages. We're also going to talk about the three stages of building your business. When you look at your marketing machine, at the very core, it's like your engine. It's that first piece you put into place and you make sure it's working and it's running smoothly and it drives your business. It is always operating. Once you have that engine, then you build the next stage of your machine, which is your stabilizer. And then once you have that, you build in your amplifier. You don't want to skip around because that's when you end up, instead of building a machine, you end up with random components that don't relate to each other. Each one of these pieces has its own individual components, and that's what you look at as a goal for this year. You really, really want to end up somewhere differently with your marketing. You look at it as, which piece of my marketing machine am I going to invest in building in 2026? And then after a couple of years of doing this, you end up with a machine that's working so smoothly. I have a client I've been with 3 years. She has a staff of two. She's a very small brick and mortar in Kingston. She's sitting there right now. We had our monthly meeting and she's like, Cheyanne, I'm running my campaign, but I didn't have to do any extra work. And I'm really confused because usually I'm super busy trying to keep up with my marketing this time of year, but it's running on its own and it's bringing in the sales and my mind can't handle this. So it was a really interesting conversation to have. And that's what happens when you build it as a machine, is you end up with something that runs really well without you having to force it. Your goals should focus on building the components your marketing machine needs next. This is how you bring a lot of clarity and structure to how you're building your marketing, is that you look at it sequentially. And that's how you decide in 2026, what am I going to do? There's a million different things we can do with marketing, but as a business owner, you want to anchor it into the stage of business you're at and which piece of the machine it makes sense for you to build next, which is what we're going to go through. So for each piece of your marketing machine, there's three functions that they serve. Marketing, again, is always in service of your business goals. So if you are at the start stage of business, that means you're still proving people want your product or service. You're still getting that foundation underneath you. This is the work that gets your marketing running. You just need to build that first engine and it will be the core of your machine, regardless of how large you grow. If you're in the stabilized stage of business, which means you've proved people want your product or service and now you're ready to get steady sales, this is the work that brings consistency to your sales and visibility. It's like the stabilizer part of the machine. And if you are choosing to move into scale, which means you have your core product or service, you know people want what you're offering, you have created steady sales, and know you want to increase revenue or profit, this becomes the marketing work that expands capacity, increases retention, and opens new markets. This is the amplifier part of your marketing machine. Now I'm going to break each of these down into three main objectives. Like I said, there's a lot of information here. Overall, you will see 9 marketing objectives, which are potential things to focus on for 2026. But you want to think while I'm talking, think about which stage is my business in. And what you'll do is you'll start to recognize, okay, she's talking about this in the start stage for marketing, and I have most of these, but I'm missing like 2 or 3. Take note of that. That's going to eventually turn into a goal. So start stage of business. The whole point here is prove people want your product or service. When we look at marketing, the objectives that you have as your CMO, your chief marketing officer, you have 3 things you need to accomplish with your marketing, with your machine at this stage. You need product market fit. I'm going to go into each of these a little deeper too. You need your brand, and you need a simple digital presence. Even if you're local, discovery happens online. It's also a key part of the middle stage of the funnel. If people meet you in person, first thing they're going to do is pull up their phone and look you up online. So these are the first 3 pieces that you need to focus on. I'm going to break each of them down so you can see what this looks like in action, and you can start to recognize the pieces you have and the pieces you may be missing. For product market fit, you know you've accomplished this when you have these 3 things. And this is one of the main reasons small businesses fail, is that they fail to accomplish product market fit. The first piece is you have a defined core offer or product. You have a clear, simple description of what you sell, who it's for, and the problem it solves. That is the main purpose of your business at the beginning stage. The other part, first sales from non-friends or family. Our first clients and customers tend to be those who know us because they're doing it to support us, but that doesn't give us product market fit. So purchases from people who don't know you personally, proving genuine market demand. And this key part is feedback and social proof applied to refine your offer. This is the market telling you exactly what they like, what they appreciate, what they'd like to see more of or less of. That is gold for your product or service development. So you want insights, testimonials, and patterns that you collect and you use to refine your offer. If you have all 3 of these, you have product market fit. So you've built that component of your marketing machine. For your brand, this is one I get a lot of people get kind of tripped up on, because unless you're a marketer, you might not necessarily understand your logo is your brand visual. It's only one component of your brand. It's not your entire brand. So the first piece is your brand visuals. That's consistent colors, fonts, and design elements. Visually, it helps people recognize you. It does not have to be professionally done as long as it's consistent. That's the most important piece. Your brand, vision, and voice. This is a part that quite often, because it's intangible, it's hard for us to really recognize the value it brings. This is the personality, the tone, and the beliefs that shape how you communicate and how you market. When we are small micro businesses, we will never appeal to people based on pricing. You shouldn't be doing that anyways. You need a decent profit margin. Our brand is really going to be what draws people in. They're going to choose because of a deeper reason. It's not going to be you don't want to fight to be the loudest or the cheapest. Your brand is your market advantage. If you have not cemented it, you are leaving an advantage on the table, and people who would choose to work with you aren't getting the information they need. This also ties into your value ladder. This is understanding the functional, emotional, and transformational value your business promises as well as delivers. Usually, until we work with a marketer, we focus on the feature level of our offer, or maybe the functional level. We talk about what it is, what it does. That is not why people are going to opt into us, because we are not commodities. So the reason people are going to move forward with us will actually be the emotional and transformational value. That's why you want to define it and you want to get really clear on your brand, because people don't sell what we do, they sell why we do, or people don't buy what we do, they buy why we do it. So that's why your brand is such a core component of that foundational piece of your engine. This is one of my soapboxes I get up on, because it's easy as a business to say, but I just need sales. I just need this. I just need that, right? Like, brands are why people buy from us. So they're a very core component. The other piece is a very simple digital presence. So consider what you already have in place and consider if you have covered these pieces. Profile and visibility. You should have social media accounts, at least one, but depending on if you're B2B, B2C. Google My Business, if you are brick and mortar or geographic based. They should just be accurate and have findable information. These are very basic. You don't need to worry about overdoing them. It's like a directory, but you do need to have the profile and the visibility. A website basics. Simple website again, do not overcomplicate this. It should explain what you offer, who it's for, and how to take the next step. And the other piece that you really want to have is your core funnel and content, which is a clear path for people to connect to you, and content that builds know, like, and trust. For your core funnel, it should be within 3 clicks. People can find out how to get in contact with you to have a conversation or how to purchase from you. And your core content, it's just about, you don't have to be on social media constantly at this stage, but it's about making sure people who are seeking you out, they're getting what they need to know, like, and trust you. Very simple content. When I work with people for this, we have what's called the core content bundle, which is evergreen. You just have a set of like 20 posts that establish the know, like, and trust, and you can reuse them over and over again. So that's at the start stage. Most likely, if you haven't gotten super deep into your marketing, you can probably recognize some pieces of that you do not have there fully yet. Those will become really, really great goals to focus on for 2026. When we move into the next stage, we look at the stabilize stage, and that's going to have its objectives. So once you build your business, you know what products or service everybody wants, you're really, really comfortable. Then you want to move into this set of marketing components to build the next level of your marketing machine, which is going to help stabilize your sales and the cash flow that's coming in. So the 3 components for this is marketing systems. I love marketing systems, but sometimes you find people at the start stage, they're already trying to get systematic. You don't know yet what works. So you don't really need to be systemizing anything yet. At this stage, systemization builds consistency. You also now want to start look at building an audience. You really want to start getting a owned audience of people that already know, like, and trust you and are opting in to engage with you further. And the third part of this is sales components, which I really, really love, or sales campaigns. I absolutely love sales campaigns. I love running them and I love building them. And sometimes this is another piece that people want to jump into before they have that engine part of the machine built. So they're trying to jump ahead because they want revenue. It's really important that you have that beginning piece in place. So your marketing system, when I work with people, this is the system I always recommend. If you are doing the marketing in the business, these are meetings that should be in your calendar. You have to have time to do your marketing. You cannot do it ad hoc. It needs to be treated as a serious part of the operations. If you're working with somebody who's managing part of your marketing, you can split it up. But these are the basic marketing meetings that I suggest we have. So a weekly marketing meeting, this is just a quick half hour, maybe an hour checkpoint. Review what you're putting out, see any comments, engage with any profiles, take a quick look at any analytics. It's just making sure you've got your finger on the pulse point of your marketing. Monthly content planning. This is the most significant marketing work you will have going on regularly. It's really important you earmark, I'd say probably a full workday a week to creating this, where you look at your business goals, you look at your content, and then you batch create social media or email, whatever you're using regularly to work with people, earmark it, put it in your calendar. I run a content lab where I work with people to do this regularly. We get together, we brainstorm, I help guide their choices, but it has to be something that you have in your calendar or you will not regularly produce the content you need to stabilize your sales. And then we have meetings that you want to have for a big picture view. It's important. We're always pulling back and looking at the big picture. I suggest once a quarter, you do something along the lines of project planning. You look at the marketing projects you have coming up and an annual planning. I do this every year with my people in January, getting that big picture view, connecting to your bigger goals and outlining it and breaking it down per quarter, which projects you're going to build into place. This is also the stage you want to be building simple SOPs. You don't need to go super intense, but now that you know what sells, you know who's going to buy it, you can start building SOPs to start paving those pathways so that things run smoother for you and potentially you can move it to somebody else taking it on. Marketing SOPs are really important. It's how you end up in December wondering, why is this so easy? Why isn't there more work for me to do? My client has a December campaign she runs every year. She has a simple SOP to follow. And the amount of labor that takes off of her while still getting the same marketing results and even higher is what shifts the game of marketing. Your next piece is your audience. In marketing, we have a concept of rented land is social media. If you build on rented land, you're putting yourself in a very volatile position. You want to build on owned land, which is your email list. It's another one that we tend to focus on at the start because we're kind of connected with the concept of needing an email list, but there's no point in building that until you really understand your audience and you have that core engine running. So your email list is the central place where your most engaged audience gathers and receives your updates. You own this, you can reach them, you don't have to worry about the social media algorithm pushing you around or needing to do any of the latest trends or anything like that in order to get visibility. You also need, in order to build an audience, you need an audience building funnel. So in the first stage, we had our core funnel. Within 3 clicks, people can get to us. Now we want to build a very simple audience building funnel. And this is just a clear way for new people to join your email list. You don't need to overthink it. You do want to be mindful of what people will find valuable, what will have them engage, but it's just one simple audience building funnel. The other component of this is brand building campaigns. This is where you need to have content or activity that expands your reach to new relevant audiences. So could be social media, it could be engaging with the community, something that just gets you in front of a wider audience, and then people get to know your funnel, and then they come in through your funnel into your email list. It's very simple. That's how you build an audience. You build this machine, and then you let it run for a year, and then you end up building up an email audience. Stabilization. The last one, and this is the one that really moves the needle on revenue, which I know for a lot of us, when we think of marketing, we actually tend to skew our concept towards sales. Sales is it's under the umbrella of marketing, but as you can see, there's a lot of other components. Sales campaigns are incredibly powerful to get to once you have that core engine. Once you have your brand, your digital presence, and your product market fit, now we want to look at sales campaigns. I love building sales campaigns. 3 components for this. You need to have your client journey. Maybe this is one of the things you map out in 2026. So it's a mapped understanding of how people go from interested to purchasing. You'll get to know what tends to be the entry-level purchase, what tends to be what people tend to purchase later, what they tend to reoccurringly purchase. So this works for products or services, but after you're selling to enough people, you can map this out and you can see the journey that people are taking with you. You also want to understand your sales cycle. And this is awareness of when your market or industry buys, slows down, or shifts. So peaks, downturns, and plateaus. This tells you when to put a sales campaign out. You don't just constantly run sales campaigns. You'll exhaust your resources and you'll exhaust your audience. You really want to understand, for my client that I've been talking about, she's a tea shop in Kingston. She runs sales campaigns both during her peak periods to make sure she can capture more of that spending that's happening. And we've also built sales campaigns during what's traditionally a slow period like the summer, because people aren't looking for hot tea. We built an iced tea campaign there to increase revenue during what is usually a slow down time for her. So sales campaigns are how you start balancing out your cash flow and your sales cycle. And like what I really like about them is that they're rinse and repeat. You use the same ones every year. Once you've built your collection of sales campaigns, the bulk of the work for marketing is done for you. Always taking in feedback and reiterating, and there's shifts that happen, but for the most part, you get to reuse them. And then you actually do the campaign execution. So planning and running promotions that guide people towards a purchase. This is quite often what people really, really want with marketing, but it's important to see those other components of the machine need to be built first. And even for sales campaign, you need to know your people enough to know your client journey and your sales cycle and your campaign execution. I get brought on a lot to do this for larger businesses, and then I have to build their client journey and their sales cycles before I can build a campaign strategy for them. Really, really powerful though when we do get it built. So if you're in the stabilized stage or you feel like you're in the middle of both, nothing is black and white in business. We fluctuate around. These could be potential things to focus on for 2026. Getting a marketing system built, really getting that consistency, getting it in the calendar, building some simple SOPs so things can start to run with less friction. Building an audience, getting people onto an email list, creating that simple funnel that gives them a reason to, and then finding ways to get in front of a wider audience that helps bring people into the funnel, onto the email list. And then doing the work to build a couple of sales campaigns this year. If there's a time of year where things get really, really slow and that's not a fit for you, that's a way that you can help bring in some extra revenue if you can find the right thing to tap into for your sales campaign. If there's a time of year that you know people are buying your type of product or service, but you don't feel like you're really capturing your spend share that you should, that's a great time to develop a sales campaign. And then what you do at the end of that sales campaign, you take in the data, you take in the analytics, you refine it, and you get it ready to launch again next year. If you're choosing to go into the scale stage, which not every small independent micro business does, quite often we're very happy at the stabilized stage. But if we do go into this developmental stage of business, we want to increase profit and revenue, then the next piece of your marketing machine becomes an amplifier. So you've built your engine, it's running, it's always running. That core piece is always running in the background. Now, and then you've built the stabilizer and you've got sales campaigns going, that's building an audience. Now we can decide if we want to increase the business revenue and profit, we can use marketing to amplify what we've already been doing. For this, there's 3 objectives we could focus on: automation, retention, or expansion and development. You'll notice this is leaning way more into marketing terminology. This is what I call a mature marketing system. It's a really fun sandbox for me to play in, but it is where things start to get pretty technical. Automations. One of the things I find people get tripped up with, they will be in start or stabilize and they will already be trying to automate. This is the same as your SOPs. I say it's like you're deciding as a business, you want to sell to people over here, you're setting a goal, a destination. If you have not walked that path a whole lot of times and successfully made that sale, you don't know the path it actually takes to get there. So if you start to build SOPs or automations, you're paving a path that you don't know if it's even going to get you to the destination you're hoping for. Automations work really well once that path has been walked through so many times, it's well worn, and you know that it's going to bring you to the destination. So you can hand that off to AI, to a system that's going to automate it because you know that path works. So if you are looking at automations, the repeated tasks, anything that's really routine and mundane, the more you can automate them and get them to run on their own instead of requiring manual effort, the less friction in your marketing for the same amount of outcome. Lead capture and delivery is another really important one to automate. That's the pipeline, right? All the leads coming in, the amount of them you have coming in determine the amount of conversions you have. So systems that collect contacts and deliver promised resources automatically is another really good automation you want to focus on. And then basic segmentation, organizing contacts so that you can communicate more effectively. These are advanced level marketing. If you have found you have heard in some kind of social media post or some kind of advice that you need to automate, that doesn't make sense unless you have completed the other parts of the machine already. Retention marketing. I will give a little caveat this year, and I've done a couple of workshops, including some in-person ones on this, because the economy is behaving the way it is. People are staying with the brands they know. So this potentially is a good one to set as a goal for 2026, even if you're not in the skills stage. If you have a good base of customers or clients that continue to interact with you, this could be a good one to stabilize revenue or even stabilize growth, bring a bit of growth back in, just because of the nature of the economy right now. Marketing is always, it's like a sandbox, right? The conditions depend on which tools you pick. So retention marketing is one to really pay attention to. Three components of retention marketing are loyalty, encouraging customers to buy more often or deepen their engagement, continuity, extending the lifespan of a customer through repeated or ongoing value, or reactivation, bringing past or inactive customers back into your ecosystem. All of these are potential goals for 2026. And then expansion and development marketing. This is a really fun one. This is where your business is done really, really well. You have your core piece, you have your stability, and now you're like, what's next? Who else can I work with? What other products or services can I develop? So new segments is an option here, reaching new groups of customers you're ready to serve, new offers, creating additional products or services that align with your strengths and audience needs. This is when I find a lot of people in the start stage try to jump into. If they're offering something and they've got a couple of bites on it, they're not really willing to sit there and refine it and take market feedback. Instead, they just try to develop something new. And you end up on a treadmill where you never build that engine because you don't have a consistent product or service that you're refining and adapting. You're just constantly jumping to new ones. And that's why it becomes really, really hard to ever get your marketing going. So a new offer is really good for creating additional products or services that align with your strengths and audience needs. Really good to do when you're at the scale stage. And then market development campaigns. So strategic efforts that introduce your business into a broader or related market. These are more mature forms of marketing, which is why you want to get that baseline down and running smoothly before you move into these, because these are going to take development work before you see results from them. So that's your scale stage. If parts of this is if you feel like you have a really strong foundation in the other two stages, you can look at parts of this for 2026, whether it's automation, retention, or expansion and development. I highly recommend that has a stable baseline of clients or customers this year to at least consider some retention, developing some retention marketing, just due to the nature of the economy right now. So now that I've brain dumped all of that on you, which again, the custom GPT will take you through this step by step and you'll have the slides. So don't worry about absorbing all of that. I know it's quite a bit. But the process you want to go through to set your goals with that big overview is to think about generally where you feel your business is. Are you start? Are you stabilize? Are you scale? Somewhere in between. Quite often we tend to be start and stabilize, where we have some of start, but maybe not all of it, maybe not our brand value ladder. And we started to build pieces of scale. That's where I tend to, or pieces of stabilize. That's where I tend to find a lot of people. Excuse me. And then consider, which part of your marketing machine have you built? I have a really great website, really good. I worked with a really great designer. I DIY'd it. I know that's solid. You've got that part of your marketing machine. My social media is a little iffy. I'm not always showing up properly. I'm pretty sure my profile doesn't really have on it what I should have it. That part is something you still need. So you want to look at it from that objective point of view, which is why I gave you all of the pieces so you could understand those pieces are what builds a marketing machine. All you need to do is look at it and say, which of my pieces do I have and which do I still need? And then when it comes to 2026, I like to look at every year in terms of gap goals and gain goals. So gap goals would be close, unfinished, or missing components in earlier stages. You feel like you're mostly in stabilize and then you look at start and you're like, but I really didn't do that part. That's a gap goal. It's important to close those, even though they're not as exciting. It feels kind of like foundational. It will make your marketing run much more effectively and much more smoothly. You'll get higher ROI for the marketing you're doing. Gain goals are building new components that your business is now ready for. They tend to be more exciting. They're usually the ones we want to do, and they're really, really good because they help pull us into the next stage. Each of these marketing objectives give your business what it needs to grow and develop. That's the whole point of marketing. So gain goals are really beneficial in that they pull our business forward. They prove people want a product, or they bring us steady sales, or they increase our revenue and profit. So those are your gain goals. Usually for a healthy annual plan, you want to include both. As entrepreneurs, we tend to be pretty forward focused. So we tend to lean into the gain goals more than the gap goals. But like any machine, if we're missing a core component, it will not function as smoothly and effectively as it should. To identify your 2026 needle movers, you want to review each of the objectives that I gave. And again, the ChatGPT will walk you through this process. You want to ask yourself which components are complete, which do I feel like, yep, they have all that criteria that Cheyanne's lifted out, which components are missing, which components represent your next stage of growth. And then you choose 3 objectives for 2026. When you go through that process, your top 3 become your marketing goals for the year. These are going to move your business the furthest along in terms of marketing. One of the beautiful things about doing this is that all the other noise that you're going to hear about marketing in 2026, and there will be a ton. There will be social media algorithm changes. There will be new AI created. There will always be stuff. This always becomes secondary. You focus on your marketing needle movers because you know that is what is going to build your marketing machine. And you do not get distracted and you do not get your efforts and energy pulled away from you. Then you want to turn it into SMART goals. I like to stay loosey-goosey naturally as much as the next person, but really grounding this into a SMART goal framework is a really important piece of creating a really strong marketing plan. So being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. The one that I think is the most important for independent small businesses like ours is achievable. A lot of what you will hear around setting business goals, the context for that is usually large businesses with teams and resources, and they're just in a completely different operational reality than we are. So being really understanding of what is achievable and realistic for us is a really important part of setting a SMART goal. It does not mean that you have to downplay or sometimes it's very easy to get overwhelmed and be like, well, I can't outcompete on social media. I don't have a team that's going to create these really good reels and be posting constantly, right? That's not achievable for us. But we can show up in a way that is achievable. And I know from working with so many businesses, we don't need to fight that fight. We can work in a way that is achievable for us and still see our business goals move forward. So I'm going to walk you through an example for this so you can really see what it looks like in action to try and make this much more tangible. I know it's a lot and I know it's a bit high level. This is my Bean There Cafe. It's my make pretend brand. I absolutely love these guys. I have a whole backstory. It's a small brick and mortar in a medium-sized city in Southern Ontario. Just an everyday style cafe, nothing super fancy, neighborhood style cafe. So if they're going through this process in 2026 and they're going through the ChatGPT or my slides and they're analyzing where they are, they would come to the conclusion they've mostly got their start stage machine built. They have a core offer. They know what they sell. They know the products they sell, the coffee, the baked goods. They know what their signature item is. They've been selling it long enough. They know what people will buy. They've got brand visuals, a voice, value ladder. They really understand people are coming in for the sense of friendliness and community that their brand is based on. They're consistent with their logo. They've got a strong Google business profile. They're getting frequent reviews, so they know they've got those components in place, but the digital presence is incomplete. They don't have a website. They just didn't need it. They didn't really see any reason for it. Things were going okay. So that becomes a gap goal. They know that their digital presence, specifically their website, is a gap goal that they could close in 2026. Then they're looking ahead into the stabilized stage, into what they would need for their marketing for that. They realize they have a bit of it, but it's really only partially built. They don't have a weekly or monthly marketing system. There's no consistency in how they're showing up. There's no SOPs to follow. They don't have an email list started yet. They don't have that audience building funnel. They are getting some natural reach via foot traffic and local word of mouth, but that there's no agency, there's no control over that for it. It's just happening naturally. And they have no defined client journey or structured campaigns. So they see there's several gain goals that they could focus on here to help move them into the stabilized stage of business. So looking at that, they decide their top 3 objectives are that gap goal, the digital presence. They want to get that taken care of. So they're going to fix the missing foundation element of the website and their core funnel. Their gain goal, they're going to really look at building that marketing system so they can get consistent on social media. They know who on the team is taking care of that, and it's scheduled into a calendar. And they're going to look at another gain goal of getting that audience built, because they want to have owned audience, and people have been asking if they have an email list. So that is going to be their 3rd goal for 2026. Now, when they convert these into SMART goals, getting specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. First one, that digital presence gap goal, turns into launch a simple 5-page website by May 31st, 2026, including menu, hours, special, search engine optimization, and generative AI optimization, which is actually really simple. So don't get overwhelmed by the AI optimization. Third or second one turns into marketing systems. Instead of keeping it high level, they break it into a SMART goal. Establish a weekly 30-minute marketing check-in, monthly planning and content session beginning January 2026. Maintain the routine throughout the year. For Being Their Cafe, it's the owner who's going to take this on for now, but she's going to be building SOPs as she goes so that eventually she can hand this off to a staff member or a contractor that she brings in. And the third goal is that audience building. They've had enough people ask if they have an email list that they know that there's interest, so they decide to invest in building this year. So grow an email list to 250 people by December 31st. They know it takes time. They're going to give themselves a full year, and they're going to use in-store signups and monthly cafe newsletter, include some promotions and some special offers just to their audience in order to bring people in. So that's what it looks like when you go through this whole process and you break it all down and you get to the point where you have something very actionable and very time-bound for yourself. And again, you will see a lot of possible things to focus on, which is why it's really important to look at the sequence of your business development and look at the gaps that you have, get those closed up, and then look at a couple of the gains and bring those in. You will always have the next year to build the next components. I like to say, for most of us, it's like we have 10 units of marketing energy or marketing investment that we can do a month. We only have so much. We're running the business. We're working other pieces of the business. There's always so many things we have to do. If we can take those 10 units and focus on them, keep them very focused and intentional, by the time we end the year, we will actually have something significantly built. If we don't set this intention and we don't set this plan and we don't set these goals, those 10 units of energy will get scattered into the wind. And by the time the year ends, we won't have anything significant built. So like I said, I'm going to drop this in the chat. This is my custom GPT. If you work with ChatGPT at all, this will be really, really easy for you. You don't need a paid edition of it. If you haven't worked with AI or ChatGPT, it's like having a conversation. It will flow through it for you. It will help you get to the end of having 3 SMART goals defined for yourself for 2026. I'm going to drop that link in the chat as well as my email. I offer free 30-minute conversations if anyone just wants to have a chat and get a little more clear about their specific business. And you'll also see a link of different ways to work with me in case anybody is looking for that. I also have a podcast, so if you like listening to me talk, you can definitely tap into that there. Okay. And then if anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand, come on, or drop it in the chat. And we have a couple of minutes left. We can dive into any questions if anybody has any. Going to unspotlight myself. There we go. Hi, Amy.
Hey, I'm not
Shine.
just a black screen.
I don't know how I logged on there again. That's kind of interesting. I'm here
I
twice.
know. Yeah, I noticed that.
Zoom has been weird for me.
Mm-hmm.
The qualified. Yeah, she's just.
Hi, Cheyanne.
Hello.
It's Yona here.
Hi, Yona.
I just clicked on the link, but it doesn't seem to work.
For the
Um,
GPT.
yeah.
Oh,
Let me just see here.
oh yeah, 404 error not found. Thank you. I'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
Oh, Google. Not Google. I'm blaming Google. It's not even Google's fault. Okay. Copy link. Okay, I'm gonna drop another one in. Let me know if that one works.
Also, the chat has been disabled. I don't know if it's because it's kind of full of spam right now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me. Okay, I'm going to remove someone, Amy.
Okay.
There we go. Okay,
Okay. I can open the chat back up now.
perfect. And then I'll drop that link again in. Thank you, Yona.
You're welcome.
That second link seems to be 404 as well.
Oh my goodness, what is happening? Thank you. The